So far, in order to use all of the properties and methods that you've created in the Calculator Functions class, you have had to first create an instance of the class. Some properties and methods, such as the datetime.now property that you saw in Lesson 5.7, can be accessed without creating an instance of the class. These are called static properties and methods. You'll create some in this lesson. To begin, open the My Project sample file from your Sample Files folder. And open calculatorfunctions.cs if it isn't open already. Now you're going to make the add method into a static method. A static method can be called without creating an instance of its class. The methods in the math class which you used in lesson 5.11 were all static methods. Change the public double add line to public static double. All you need to do to make a method static is to add the word static after its protection level. You can do exactly the same thing to make classes and properties into static classes and properties. It's very important to note that you should avoid using static properties wherever possible. Static methods can be very useful, but static properties are a very bad idea. When you create a static property, it is available to your entire application. This means that every class in the application is able to change its value. For this reason, you can never be sure what value the static property has, rendering it worthless. The use of static properties can introduce errors that are almost impossible to debug. My advice is to never use static properties in your code. You can see that there is an error inside your add method. If you move your mouse cursor over the error, you can see a message complaining that the round number method is not static. Static methods are isolated from ordinary methods, since ordinary methods can only be used via an instance of the class. The only way to allow the add method to call the round number method is to make the round number method static as well. In the same way as you did with the add method, make the round number method static. After you do this, all of the errors disappear. Next, you're going to call your static method from the calculator.aspx page. Because the add method is now static, you no longer need to create an instance of the class in order to call it. Open the code behind file of calculator.aspx and remove the line that creates an instance of the calculator functions class. Since you're going to use a static method for the calculation, you don't need an instance of the class anymore. The line that calls the add method is now marked as an error. This is because the functions instance of the calculator functions class no longer exists. Fix the line of code by replacing functions with calculator functions. Now view the page in your browser and test the calculation. The calculation still works without any problems, but you've reduced the amount of code needed to call the method by making it static. Static methods are ideal for methods that stand alone and don't need to access any properties. The calculations in the Calculator Functions class are a perfect example of this. Close your web browser now and close Visual Studio. You've now completed Lesson 6-9. Create a static method.